successful for them. AP has been around for a very long time. It's German built. It's a proven solid platform. In one, Apple made a decision that we would focus on 3 modules, and the object was to do work and to better support our recruiting organization. And that in these 3 components really are here just to support the recruiting efforts initially. And so eRecruit is the first module that you would be interacting with. It's the first module that our applicants would contact. They can basically, and we capture their details in the human capital management system. Now to know where they live, how to pay them, etc. So are they getting a number, etc. cProject is a project management module that for the time being will allow us to capture the people out into the eRecruit piece, pass to HCM, and then are assigned to a project, whether being pulled by a manager or assigned by a recruiter. This is kind of the basic flow. The white area designated here A is everybody. That is the pool of resources to connect with our systems and become active candidates. We have recruiters and working with them, and ultimately they'll bring those people into C, which is their resources on the bench. They have an ID, and then look for them to be into within the app and organization. There's a dotted line there in the center between C and D, sort of people who are qualified for professional tasks. They perhaps did some training or done a pre-reading, but there's something that says, hey, these people have some skill than the rest. And in the center there is D, the green center, and D is people who are actively engaged and working on projects with us. You and I are all in the green. Well, you and I are also all in AM. Question? Sorry. Okay. So back to internal, external, we kind of talked about that. We are all in HCM. That's how we're going to get paid. It's how our managers will track us. It's how the company will know who we are, where we are, how much we get paid, what our insurance is, all that good stuff. We have no users or consultants who apply through our website or through one of the huge number of opportunities that Rick's organization has made available, and they will again come in with eRecruit, give them EC, and hopefully ultimately they'll end up in cProject because that means we've assigned them to something. We'll be using the system eRecruit to create positions and requisitions. You will be trained. Those who need to know how to create a requisition will get that training separately. If it's organization, Christina Wardell is driving that for us, and Vanessa, I'm not sure who's doing that in Australia, but my guess is that you guys have got the same, Amanda's been working on with Rick and Christina, and we'll support you with that. So that recruiting receives and processes all the applications, and ultimately assign those agents, they become consultants, and they get assigned a project. From an internal user's perspective is that they can go and they can search through eRecruit to find opportunities. They can have an opportunity there and connect with the recruiter who will move them into the system HCM. And ultimately, our goal again is to assign them to something where they can generate income from themselves and revenue for us. This will allow recruiters to work with large groups of applicants and change the onboarding process significantly. We've been using Taleo at this point. For those of you that are familiar with Taleo, it has a number of limitations, not least of which is support. There are enough limitations that it's not really an effective tool for us, and the Rick would agree with that perspective. eRecruit is a significant step from that. It'll allow us to do all the document signing in the tool in FP, which means that we remove a whole bunch of the manual steps. We'll still have all our legal bases covered without having to engage external resources like that Caldwell, or to help drive those kinds of activities. Also, to note in this slide is the automated testing and app and online. There's a lot of self-service testing that happens there, and we are working to get app and online to form SAP and vice versa, so that those systems are highly integrated. At this point, comments? Okay. We'll have lots of opportunities to answer questions best I can. So, focus is on recruiting, and the streamlining of the recruiting and onboarding process. The way Mark Matthias and I have always talked about this when he first met, and he was a consultant to us, I guess, a year ago now. We talked about removing the friction, creating a process that would work on any platform, and that required our consultants to have as little or have little or as much interaction as was needed with us, but that it became a burden, or that it became an end to itself. I think the being crowdsourcing, custom consulting, and contact analytics organizations will take benefit from our go live phase. With some of the challenges in connecting app online with SAP, will be some separation initially, but my goal is to connect those dots at a later date. A note here at this point. The slides we're looking at right now are slides that were put together by the executive team to support these efforts, the training, and also to inform people. So I can't speak to specifics on these specific slides unless it's a general question. Moving active people in SAP, it's going to happen in the next week or two. We're going to move, we're moving over very basic information, and then an email campaign that go out to those individuals, say, hey, we moved from Dell to eRecruit to SAP. We invite you to go to this place and tell us more about yourself. And this is where you're able to connect with us going forward. There's a lot of cool things happening with this, not just the widget. People now have the opportunity to manage their own accounts with us rather than going through somebody to manage their Taleo account. There are a lot of people in Taleo with a huge amount of discussion around the people that we have in our Taleo system, and this is made to the time everything in the Taleo has been offboarded to an offline system that Rick and his organization have access to. Over a period of time, we'll be reaching out to those those people in Taleo who we would like to hear from us, and we'll look to move them back into our new system. Yay!
Question, Colin, and
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not even sure if now is the time for that. But one thing I'm curious about is that, assuming that issue that I don't even know actually if it's an issue, but with Taleo where the consultants, after a period of time without accessing it, they kind of expire, their password expires, and then they can't log into their profile. I'm guessing we won't have that trouble with this new eRecruit system.
That trouble. I don't know specifics about that, Jen. Again, SAP is to put it mildly, a robust system, and one of the requirements is that users would have touch, and low touch means if I forget my password, I don't need somebody to help me change it. I can figure out how to do that myself. If I'm logging in for a long period of time, there's a period of time that people become stale. And Rick, actually, you're perfect. You can speak to this. You happen to be here. It was chirping. The question was about the people who were in Taleo, their accounts basically expired, and I was just suggesting that in SAP they're not going to get expired, but because there are some legal consequences, but they will have an opportunity to come back in and renew the relationship with us.
That's correct. Even if they're intent of sending out the emails, we know there'll be X amount of emails that are no longer valid because people change their email address. They may have moved in those stale groups, but we're still going to go after them regardless of how the rebound might be. Invite back in, take a look at our new ATS where the weapon has grown, the opportunities that are available. We're actually working on the language of these, and we do it several times and with slightly different language. Just one of the here, hope you had a chance. So we do everything we can to invite them back in, and then just somewhere after next week when we do go live, the career builder, and we don't need to get into that today, Talent Network will go on. So when we post ads globally, people will be driven specifically into eRoot, and in special circumstances that we're working on right now where they need to be directed to stay on app and online, we'll have capacity to people in a variety of directions. But we'll definitely put a marketing campaign on folks to come part of the new crowd. That's the intent.
Excellent. Thanks, Rick. That answers your question, Jan.
Yep.
Good. So
Thank
what is not part of this phase one rollout? We're not going to look at finance. So role finance, we're going to have project management controls in the system. There's no any data warehousing. Those things are all going to happen in phase two. We'll start that Q2, Q3 of the year. One I talked about earlier, we hope to get into phase one. There are some technical issues that we weren't able to resolve in time, and we deferred those to phase two. And we're working on integrating other things at that point as well, including things like UHRS and other tools. They'll make this deck available to everybody. Sorry? This is a list of people to contact. Challenges with SAP. I'll be representing the search organization. But you can see here that if you're having challenges with some specific things, somebody can help you with this. And these kind of people who have stepped up and agreed to be the subject matter experts, if you will, in their area. Darren is our technical contact for all things SAP. He works with our consulting firm, consultants, but also if you've got a challenge with credentials or access, something like that, he's the guy to help you with those things. So next steps is, and this kind of ties into what I'd like to suggest we look at cProject, get more experience with it, find some of our processes and develop best practices. And I think the goal would be that we learn, we have lessons learned during this next quarter, and we take notes. We all take notes as we're using the tools, things that we can't use and we'd like to use, things that we do see that we can use but we don't like to see. Maybe got questions along the way. We should be capturing those along the way, and we'll prep the mechanism for doing that so that we're, as we go into Q2, we are prepared to solve the problems for everybody. This is the point at which I will now segue into cProject. A disclaimer up front here. Yeah, and there are people on this call who know this. I'm going to allow it. We initially set out on the journey with Project. When we first met with the consultants back in November, I think it was, there was a number of us, including many on this call. We met in Connecticut, and we stayed there with the consulting team, going and sort of blueprinting, creating the initial blueprint. cProject was not on the table. It was a different tool, and I don't remember what it was. Along the way, the decision was made that we would purchase a package that included cProject. And I've been the one that's been working most closely with our consulting firm, probably because we're in this continent, not in the time zone, but we are at least on the same continent. And de facto become a subject matter expert. I'm using notes over here in cProject. I'm trying to talk my way out of a hole now before I actually get myself into that hole. What I want you to recognize, what I want you to understand is that is really here to serve a fairly simple purpose. It's part of a larger package I've got down here, resource productive management. It's one module. The other module is specific to project management, and that's where we get all the incredibly complex tools, and they do amazing things. And all the things that you may think you can only do in Excel or in Word or in a database or an app online, all that way you'll be able to do in these tools. After this, you're going to see there's lots of stuff that we're not going to use in that design in phase one. Knowing this going in phase one is, and because of our resources, including time and availability, we are going to have very limited scope. And although credible, I'm not concerned because I think that in phase two we'll be able to do more stuff, and I will have more bandwidth to do that, or somewhat more bandwidth to do that. So when you're working in cProject, please don't worry about all the options that you can use. You can say ignore them. I've got the question out there, what happens if you use one and you do damage? My recommendation is if you don't know what you do in the database, don't do it. Okay, I don't have this in here, but perhaps it's probably general advice. Mark and I were talking earlier this morning. Some things that we can, I'm going to quote here, somewhat back out of, that go in a database in there permanently. They can be altered and cannot back out of them. So you go in, and if you see this, if you start playing with fields and you see things, that becomes permanent, and it's going to be very difficult to undo it. Not possible, I suspect, but enough to be easy to do. So recommendation is that resist the temptation. If you really want to play around in cProject, and I can give you access to a box environment where you can't do any damage. You can do whatever you want and play whatever you want. And if that's of interest to you. And say that when you've got questions or comments or something that strikes you while you're looking at all this, take a note of it and let me know. So I share those with the ERP team, and we can take account when we look at the second implementation. So again, bare bones use right now by design. The purpose of having cProject is the for recruiting, to put people that have been recruited and assigned into a specific program. And there's no other functionality than that at this time. So, with being said, as we kind of batted the hierarchy around a lot, and we were speaking with Mark this morning about the discussions that you had with him in Connecticut and subsequent. And I've made the decision that for the search organization, this is the hierarchy we're going to follow. And it sounds like this will be fine. I also understand is that because things like Microsoft Bing are really captured in SAP, because SAP doesn't care about words. Microsoft Bing means nothing to SAP. There's a long string of numbers that SAP system associates with Microsoft Bing. We call it Bob. It's not going to change the fundamental underlying functionality. At some point, if we need to, we can make shifts. But at the time being, this is my executive decision, if you will, for the hierarchy for search projects and cProject. Those of you who've got it, or as James, you might be somebody who looks at this differently. So enjoy. Greg might look at this differently. Again, Rick, you guys have your own point of view. Shannon, you and I have talked with a lot. Shannon's actually been tremendous help to me in proof some of this stuff. Although I will share with you that in going through it this afternoon, I started tripping all over again. So it's going to work at the highest level is a project, and the project is kind of like it could be a client, it can be a program, It can be anything we want it to be. In this case, I'm going to use the example Microsoft Bing, that project. We have other Microsoft projects, and they can be here too. We have different what they call phases in this organization. I looked at all the different purchase orders and different groupings that we have, and it makes the most logical sense that speaking with our directors, it means most logical to break them out by basically unique purchase order names. So crowdsource is one of them. So as an example here, Microsoft Bing, the phase is going to be crowdsourced. Task EUS crowdsourcing. That's the thing that people do. The role that we put them in is the describe that are going to do the task. And ultimately, we're going to find resources in the human capital management system, HCM, and we'll assign them to the role to complete our task. That makes sense to everybody before I move on? Because this is kind of a fundamental piece.
Question, Colin. On the task level, be one per market, or be like one that it's a bucket, all the markets under, or is it?
Yeah. No, unfortunately, I wish it could be that way. We have to look at each task. So again, search, this is a convention that's been agreed upon. Language, all uppercase, language, dash, country, right? Space, and then the name of the task. And so, we outsource, and we have things for web evaluators. We have, so the role in this case is crowdsource annotator. So anybody that's going to task for a crowdsourcing program will have the role crowdsource annotator as a way for us to understand what the functionality is in AP, and EUS helps us be specific with respect to things like tracking hours and tracking rates and those things that are unique to markets, who owns the market, who manages it, all that stuff. So it all gets broken down to very small pieces.
Okay, for instance, would you say that the task would be something similar to the judge group name that we give in UHRS?
Sure. Yes, I would.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see here at some point. I think I've got it in a later slide, but I'm kind of going to bring out, because there's a lot of people in the search organization on the particular call. Speaking about this with the other directors and Tammy, that we've decided that really things like projects and phases need to be by directors. So you didn't have to create projects or phases. If you come across the case that you need that, you need to know, because either that's an oversight, you didn't create it, or you have access to it and we need to fix that. Okay? Good. So here we go. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. You're breaking out. I don't know if it's just us not being able to hear or everyone.
Vanessa. Yeah, I'm using the Bluetooth device. Sometimes it starts to break up, so I appreciate it. If that happens, if somebody can let me know. I have my laptop closer to my face, so hopefully that shouldn't happen. Using this device for several hours this morning, and it happened a few times, but for the most part, it was okay. And I realized that one of the things I didn't do was open I'm going to have to go and do this really quickly. Do that, and how do I get back to where I was? Oh dear. Where did my WebEx go? Oh no, what happened? Okay, this. Oh, here we go. Sharing this monitor. I don't want to share this monitor. I want a different monitor. Stop for a second. I'm going to share a different monitor. Wonder how I do that. My desktop monitor 2. There we go. I don't want to do either. Actual work. Oh, So we'll know now that Colin is not very skilled with. All right, there we go. So I'm going to move my PowerPoints down over here and back to slideshow mode. And there you go. So before you guys all joined me, I connected to the virtual private network, TN tunnel. If I had done that when we connected in WebEx, you would have all been disconnected when I connected to the VPN. So we're actually, this meeting is now happening within a VPN environment. You should be aware of that. When you're working with the VPN, if you are VPN and you start a Skype call or WebEx call or some other conference call with another party while you're connected to the VPN, during that call, you connect to your VPN, you will also disconnect your call. Also, if you a VPN while you're on a conference call, you will, in the same way, disconnect your call. Okay? All right. So,
so Colin, does that stand for very painful network then?
Painful network is exactly what it means. Thank you. I'm struggling with that. Very painful network. That's the word. So there are some things that, and you've gotten information. Hey, Rick, I've gotten the details from Dave. If you haven't, you will shortly. If not, let Dave know. This is a production environment. I heard people interested in plant this. Please don't mess around in production environment. That's not the sandbox environment. Today. I haven't yet heard of a browser that NetWeaver does not work in. In order to connect to the, so I didn't talk about but this browser-based application. H is actually there's a local project to be an application that has to be installed locally. But with project, it all happens in a web browser environment. In order to access that browser environment, you're going to have to add this thing of numbers, letters at the bottom here to your host file. And also, if you don't know how to do that, Dave will give you instructions on how to add this environment to your host file. And you'll have to do the same thing if you're going to access the sandbox environment. We're in the sandbox today. I want to show you what's happening in the sandbox environment. And because the production environment is, I'm not confident it's 100% available to me today. It wasn't last time I checked. I really just don't want, I want to be able to do stuff with you guys, and you ask me questions, I want to play with it, not worry about destroying the system. Okay? So what was interesting about all this is that I have to go back and forth between the slide deck and with that thing on here. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to bring in my browser here, and now that we're connected, I should be able to connect now to. And I just got an error code, and that's not making me really full. It's making here. Oh man, it did work earlier. Hey, news is working. So. That's awesome. That's awesome. It's a production environment. It's, right? That happens.
On Firefox, just so you know, Colin, if you
I was in earlier on Chrome, and a very short time ago, 40 minutes ago.
A quick question. You're going to the QA system, not the production system?
Might have to go to the QA system, yeah. You there?
I can't get in yet either. I'm in, but I haven't installed the new one, so maybe it's over in the
Yeah, I'm both today, Joy. I've worked with both environments today.
Hey, sorry, question. Your VPN didn't drop before you started this call, did it?
Oh.
It looks pretty good.
Remember, thank you, Jeff. Remember the discussion. For those of you who were late, 5 minutes before the call started, I went to create my web installation. My audio wouldn't connect, and I had to restart my laptop. I couldn't figure out why, so I just restarted. And, of course, I disconnected. Let's see what's going to happen here. So my guess is that we're going to disconnect. When I connect the VPN, I'm going to have to do that. So my apologies to happen. Can you please just come back?
Do you want
too? Okay.
Do you all just log back in and give you a couple minutes?
Yeah, stay there right now. Let's see if it works. My guess is you're going to get disconnected. I'm about to hit OK. Bill?
Yep.
And you can hear me.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, that's the first time that happened like that. Every time we've tried it, we got disconnected. So, excellent. So, we go. So, we're in the PowerPoint deck. We're talking about how we log in, right? So, we've opened the VPN. We're going to log into the tool, and I want to show you what happens when I do that. I'm going to use my credentials. Hopefully, I remember my password. Not be something that works well for me.
I'm not sure about everyone else, but I'm not seeing your screen anymore.
There's a reason for that. The reason is that for tomorrow.
You know.
The best played laid plans, right? Sorry about that. Okay, so I'll log out again. You guys can see what I just did. New launch, you're going to get this window. SAP NetWeaver, everybody can see that? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. And I put in my
Unique passwords here. The people need to
everybody
know that.
is unique. Yep. You see errors like this one here. Don't panic. There are still some in the production system. We're slowly getting them out. It's all about, again, an incredibly complex system. And so far we haven't done anything that would block. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Project Management, and I'm going to select Project Management. Okay? And what I want here is that you can build a project or you can build an existing project. There are different ways of sorting through all this stuff. As you hear, there are my projects, which are the ones that I said, okay, these are mine and mine only. I want to work on them. I designate them as favorites. But I use as my most recently used project list. And I actually created today the other ones I've been playing with over time. And Ivor has kindly left them in there for me. This kind of way we're going to get to go. And I'm going to take you through the process, see my PowerPoint presentation, but it's really mostly intuitive, and the key has come towards the end. So here we've got project highlighted over here. I'm going to create something. The project number is a unique number. We're probably not going to have to do this. Australians, you probably will want to do this. You search for an existing project by number. In this case, I'm just going to make one up and just got something to create from, and it's going to spawn a new window. So if it doesn't spawn a window, nothing happens. It's because you've got pop-ups turned off. You have to enable pop-ups. VPN environment, so you should be safe. So if you've got pop-ups turned off because you don't like having pop-ups on, you're going to have to enable it and use the browser specifically for this purpose. Up to you guys. See our project, as you can see, we've got a project element created, but it's got no name to it. It's the host. So we're going to give it a name. We're going to give it a name, Phase 1 cProject Training 1. Okay? And I'm going to go through there's a bunch of different stuff here. Project type you're going to have to select. Right now, if you go and save this project right now, there's nothing else we can do because we haven't associated with a project type. And it will happen in the production environment. We will have agreed upon project types available to us. What we're going to use today is the app in USA with accounting integration. That's what was set up to allow us. You can now see that things have changed, right? Phase is now available to me here. It's part of the name over here. All kinds of things happen. Responsibility role, no responsibility. You can't change it. Doesn't matter. Number, I was an arbitrary number. It doesn't matter. Reason, we're not going to be using these at this point. You can safely ignore them. Responsible resource, again, he has responsibility, which is the way I get. Status, lock and release. I think they make a difference at some point, although I don't remember if we talked about that with Ivor. I believe that when I set this all in the production system and I make it live, I'll change the status from being locked to released and where people can view it and work in it. Keep note here, I got an error message, error connected to the tank system. You're going to see those errors pop up. Don't stress yourselves over them. It's because we haven't implemented those modules. The connect is not there. Like everything that goes into this SAP system has a unique ID to it, a string of numbers. And they all are connected in some way. It's what our consultants have done for us. In case there's nothing connected to accounting and they haven't taken off the error code for us. Date work. You can.
Sorry, Colin. Can I quick question for you on? Jackie, the press now going forward, is that the answer or is that going to be generated?
Vanessa, that goes back to the conversation that you and I had in Connecticut.
So we'll have to. But
know
here
what I
for you on how we're going to answer it all across the world at different time zones.
So Vanessa, in the absence of any other guidance, this is what I am doing.
We'll just have to agree who does what sequence number you will use. That's all.
I think that if it's already in use, you'll get. In fact, I know it. If you use a number that's already in use, you'll get a notification. In a production environment, I don't think it's going to be a big deal, and that's a great question. I'm taking some note here. Where'd my piece of paper go? I'm looking for some notes here, but I just have lost my piece of paper. Just a second. What the heck? That happened. I found it. So we're talking about project numbers.
Another quick one. In the previous, to create a project, you had there was a template type and a project type. What does that? Do we just do whatever or first place? You think walkthrough, but you must have done it just minutes before. Previous window. Dialogue, you call it.
Delete it, and I'm going to back here and go back to projects. Oops. And here, create.
Yeah. And right, see the template and the project type, does that matter? Or do you know what you
Oh, got you. Sorry, yes. I believe that we're going to populate those. That's the discussion that happened when we had when I think you were on the train, we talked a bit about this. Rick, you were here, Jen, and we talked about creating templates. So, for example, we would have I think that because we're creating the very highest level at this point, this kind of becomes the template. We just call it.
Have you created the template yourself?
No. I ignored it when I created my project. I by default it was it default?
Yeah. What is the project template?
No. So project, so I can again here. Look, I just found a way to do the same thing I just did in the next window. This screen decided it's an app in USA Accounting administration, right? There is no templates right now. English is the language. Going to create it. It doesn't have a name yet. I'm going to use the same name I had before. Phase 1, right? So eventually that should populate. If it doesn't, then what I want. Oh, look, there's 2 errors now. 2 messages. I want to save this, and it now names that. You remember to hit save along the way.
Question, Colin. No, you mentioned that we probably won't be responsible for creating the project and the phase. But out of curiosity, when you mentioned that we're not supposed to be playing around with the optional fields, I don't see any markings. I don't see any asterisks that mark what is mandatory and what is not.
Yeah.
Is that
So
gonna be...
I think you're kind of getting ahead of us here. And I think that at this point, and I hate saying this, on value, right, is they want to spend a lot of time on this because I don't have a lot of time to spend on these things. They're good questions, and I don't mind meeting with people. We can figure out how to do that. But right now, I want to sort of get through the high overview thing and get to what the meat is. Meat and potatoes for us comes a little bit later when we start looking at the tasks and roles and assigning resources. All things will at some point make more sense, right? So, Jen, the other thing I think you should recognize in the search organization, for this part, we will administrators doing all the work, most of the work here for us.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Okay. That's good.
Anyway, calendar is one thing you might want to pay attention to here. Experience is that these calendars are you can there's forecasts, start and finishes, and changes, and all that kind of stuff. None of that stuff is necessary to work, do what you need to do, what we need to do. So when I will be creating all the projects and all the phases for the search organization, including for you, Jen. I won't be populating any of these fields. Right? It'll become a time where we want to pay attention to this. Some will be more for Joy, Rick, and I, James, but some of it will all, as a project manager, you're going to have a vested interest in learning more about what these things do. But now it's just a very basic. Okay?
That's fine. Thank you for clarifying that.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. So what we've done is we've now saved it, and we've now got a project. So the next thing we want to do is we talk about we're going to create the phase, right? So you've got to drop in here, and phase is now highlighted. So when I click the create button here, they have now had the opportunity to create a phase. You can see there's a little symbol, and it's subordinate to our project, right? So, well, that was actually an unfortunate name because I'm going to call this Project Training 1. So that it's really clear as we go through it. This is the project. Now it's phase. I've got a phase created. Here's the dialog box, and we're going to call this training 1 phase. Right? We know this is a phase. Phase type and phase. Sure, I don't know what that makes any difference whatsoever. They'll be available to us. Again, here's a number that's automatically been generated by the system. There's no press loss. None of this stuff matters to us. There are a whole bunch of different fields that will automatically inherit from the project if you need to change that. And we might want to change it if we get more functionality in that as we're a global organization. We find it useful that for a project that's been administered out of the U.S. or Australia but being executed in China, we might want to use this particular, we might have a phase change so that the calendar reflects that. So this time, we're not going to worry about that additional data, yada, yada, a whole bunch of stuff there. Again, none is necessary to fulfill function that we need to fulfill. Not a phase. Again, I'm going to save it. I'm going to message the data was saved, and we have a training phase. But I'm kind of getting ahead here. I'm going to go back to this and we've created a new project, created a new phase, and phase will automatic when you save or when you phase type. There seems to be a bunch of different triggers for the same thing, and I have figured them all out. Again, I am held up to be a subject matter expert Really, I'm just doing the best I can. So we keep the calendar here. You don't have to. My recommendation is we're going to leave most of this stuff for you. Create tasks and that's what you want to do. So we go to that pop-up window, and now to this drop-down over here. Can everybody see the drop-down? Select task, right? Same thing happens. We've now got task highlighted. When I press create button, we're now creating another item here, subordinate to training, which you turn into subordinate to project training 1, right? We got training, we got project training 1, we've got phase training 1, and then we're gonna create task training 1. Type task, no responsibility. Game the same fields once again, right? You can see all these fields are here. You can get a bunch of stuff around here. It goes on. So there are relationship authorizations and subtasks and all kinds of good stuff up in here. And
on this, Rick, let me just ask a quick question, if I may, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. So
yeah.
The way I look at it from, as I try to digest this and learn through you, project big things. There's a lot of things that take place in a project. So the project itself is the whole 9 yards. It's the big McGill.
Yep.
Within a project, there are phases, parts, modules, whatever we want to call them. Lots of things take place, and then within a phase, there's a whole series of tasks that need to be done to complete that phase. So it's kind of a hierarchy from top to bottom, delineating all the various parts that make up. Is that the right way to think about it?
That's correct. I believe you can. So I just go for. I'm not sure about the tasks. I know with the roles, they can be associated with multiple tasks.
Right. Exactly.
Associated with multiple phases, right? So
right.
You guys thinking about it, we have a bunch of phases like crowdsourcing, webs side by side, content analytics, whatever they might be.
Right.
And then the tasks are going to be more specific, so it's going to be about crowdsourcing or web search evaluator. And those are the two primary tasks that I've been sort of shopping around with you guys on how we're looking at it. So again, I'm going to click the save button, and because if I don't, and this window closes, none of this gets saved into the system, and I got to go and redo it all over again. Good thing, right? It's a database. So the last thing we want to do here is we want to create a role. And create a role, you go to, back to my document, I think we go to resources here. Role. Okay, so you'll see that we've moved away from the project. We've moved to the phase. We've moved away from the task. The structure's still there. Moved off onto a new thing. And a role associated with where we want that associated. Again, we're going to call this role trainers. Training 1. And a function. I don't know if we're going to use any of this stuff. I've not been using that at all to this point. We probably I need to work with Ivor if we're populating some of these things, and the whole function is one of those things that we want to have. I'm seeing Vanessa as I go through the different things that maybe talk to her about whether we want to create generic lists in the system. Ivor over the next few days to answer most things. Again, start and finish date. So we can kind of do is say that this role has a very specific timeline. Here's when we need people by. Here's when we anticipate the program's going to finish, so that we want this role to finish on such and such day. We've only got budget for this role. We have consultant. We've only got budget for 3 months, so that's what goes in here and triggers that happen. Presumably, with other good stuff, right? Yep. We've got a role now, and we click and role, but we're not associated. When I go back here, training has no roles assigned to it, right? I can roll this whole thing up. All right. It's not going to roll up. All right. Task training. So what I want to do now is we want to associate resources. And this is really where I think that the most difficult thing to figure out in cProject comes in for the majority of us is that how do we find resources in the system, find them. It's true for the Australian organization and James, your organization as well. Jim, your organization and Jim's and mine, for the most part, we'll have administrative staff that will do this for us to know how it's done. Tomorrow morning, I have the admins in the training session, and I go through this again, and I'm going to really focus on this stuff when they're with me, because this is what they really need to know how to do. I'm really pleased that you guys are here and learning this too. We created a task. We went through that process, right? We've got that task in there. We then went and we've got the resources tab, and we created a role. And we clicked the OK button, and now we've got to the place where we need to assign the role to the task. So we go back to the resources tab. Yep.
Oh, I was just going to say I couldn't see your screen anymore, but it's back now. Sorry.
To details, and we have this role, and I want to associate it now with a task. Tasks. Here we go. Okay. So I want to assign. So I've got this role over here highlighted. See, this is actually an important thing to figure out because it's not intuitive. That these gray boxes are your boxes. That you select something. I have multiple rows in here that I want to assign. Created more than one here. Then I can select multiple roles and select them here. The other thing, one of the things I need to find out is that you need a role for every individual that you're assigning. So make the association for this role to past training. I like the assign role, and I get some error message. I don't know what that means. I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Anyway, now I go back to the structure, and nothing has happened. Okay, that's not right. Why did that not take resource? Because it just took a second to get there. Now you can see that role training. It's paused underneath here, right? When I back to structure, no, I've not yet done something. Save. Now it's listing. I thought they're up here. Maybe it doesn't show up here at this point.
Alan?
Yeah.
This is Shannon. Yeah, I've never seen the role appear in that left-hand menu.
It just afternoon when I was going through all
Oh, okay. Sorry,
so,
I've seen it.
welcome to our world, everyone. No, this is this thing, and I would encourage you not to get discouraged by this kind of stuff. See a lot of this. This seems to be chat about you, Joy, and Vanessa, Rick. You guys have been playing this a lot. It seems every time I go in and work in the system, something has shifted, or I learn something new, or I do the same thing in a different way. And I have no idea how it is that I did that thing.
Well, Colin, there is qualifications testing tomorrow morning for everyone on this call that we have to have a certain pass rate in order to get assigned to this?
Hope not.
Everyone, I do wonder if you're not supposed to see the role associated but under resources.
An interesting question. I think so too. So at this point, I see it, and maybe I'm just thinking of the wrong thing. So this, I think you may be right, Vanessa. Let's just carry on and see what happens. Next thing we want to do is we need to find resources. This role, we don't have any resources resources assigned to us, and we define resources. To do that, oddly enough, is by doing a resource search. You'll get to these buttons. You'll to these different weird-looking icons. You'll get to the error message. You'll get used to going through these tabs, through a whole bunch of stuff. So we're going to do a resource search. And this is in a sandbox environment we're in right now. There is only stuff that we've been playing with. There's not a lot that we can do, and I believe that what it looks like to me, those of you on top of that, it looks like qualifications log was removed. It's no longer there. But there are different things you can do. You can search by, and in the potential environment, you'll have the ability to do some detailed searching. Searches. You should be aware that whatever you put into these tabs, they will all cumulatively inform the system about what to search for. So you put in some general stuff here at the start date then, and I have a start date, a finish date of a month from now. You can say, I think right now I'm going to leave all these blank, because if I do populate these other fields, what's going to happen is that I'm going to minimize the options I have for finding it if I want to actually maximize. So see what happens when we find somebody. Sometimes, so there's a I want to expand everything. So there's a deselect there. Everything. So there's a bunch of different things in here, right? And we'll have this all will be populated. The organizational units. This again is being done in a production environment, the HCM system. Happening right now is this is speaking to HCM in the SIPS environment. Qualifications catalog, for those of you who don't know what qualifications catalog is, and I'm not sure that I know how to help read it. Qualifications catalog is kind of, as its name implies, it's a catalog of all the attributes of an individual. Things like their location, their technical skills, their computer skills, their language skills, a whole bunch of stuff. How they do on tests. For me, it's about how we do in our reviews, periodically, and all that kind of stuff. Becomes a qualifications catalog. It's incredibly complex, and so we didn't build a big one out in here. It looks like what we did build got needed, but they've been building this in a production environment, and it will help you out. So you'll be able to go through here and say, it's mandatory that an individual resides in this particular country. It's mandatory that they have this language. Language, they have a certain proficiency in that language, right? That they have this role defined for it. And then you can say, and I want them to be within, I want to meet all my requirements to a degree 5%. And we'll go out and find all the applicants, meet with you a little bit of leeway, we'll find somebody who meets the criteria. Ability is this one. This is where I found I had to do in order to find people today that we could see happen is that I put it as 1 hour, because sometimes again, going to those earlier screens, there's other screens. If you start putting numbers in there, you cause the system to say the individual or that role has this constraint on it, and may not really want that constraint. So here, minimum 1 hour, minimum availability 1%, which should mean that I should get a large number of people trained. There's the spinning of the wheel. And here we have the people systems that we have that we created some time ago. You can see that we can scroll through here because constrained. Everybody is 100%. And I can take through people. We can see that long term, you've got these great things we can pick from. Their availability, are they assigned elsewhere? This is something Joyce and I in particular have been talking about it. James, probably you too, but if somebody's assigned to one project, can they be assigned to a second project? Well, this can help us with that at some point, but not today. really good stuff. Again, unbelievably powerful system. I'm going to go ahead and assign Matt Damon to our program. And if I want to, I will also, because I'm not a guy, I'm going to assign Amy as well. And maybe Fred, because none of people are here to argue with me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to staff them to this role. And so when I click staff role position, and you see training 1, and press this now, that's those 3 names. I'm going to go ahead. And then we get a whole bunch of error messages up here, but in production environment, don't stress. Take note of it. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I have a couple of questions, and do feel free to tell me if this is something that needs to be taken offline, which is absolutely fine. Going back a little bit to the qualifications, I know you said that there's a lot of possibilities there. Are we going to have something like, for instance, that says that a certain candidate passed the question for
just about every question you're about to ask, the answer will be.
And even if that person is not on a program anymore, and I want someone who has that qualification, I'm going to be able to see that there. So that's loaded into the system. I guess that's what I'm trying to ask.
I think we rethink my answer in that context.
But a little bit of scenario. Let's say you have people that were let go from websites and are eligible for all. And cProject that requires every 3 months or so that I have certain web judges that have website training for a period of time. Mm-hmm. Able to see that in the past they had website training, they passed, and for some reason they terminated their contract. And
that information will probably at some point be in the qualification catalog for you. I don't have that data points in there yet. This was designed to accommodate that. I think, if somebody can correct, it was part of the qualifications catalog, but it seems to me that the duration of scores and things like our app and online and URS were taken into account here, even if they're not specifically included today. Functionality that you're talking about ultimately will be available to us. This is my understanding and my first hope. That someday, yes, and maybe not in phase 1, maybe not in phase 2, but at some point. And I love your questions. And what I encourage you to do is to write them down. And I'll put for cProject, I will be the collector of questions and suggestions, and I'll try to put that out to Matthias and let them know that not already that I'm willing to do that.
Prepared, because I have a few, so I will save that.
I'm totally surprised to hear that. Again, I'm going to encourage you. We can take that offline, but I encourage you not spend what would otherwise be time spent more productively elsewhere in the development of this system. It's really going to have limited functionality for you for quite some time to come.
Right. It's more related to our project. That's why I thought maybe you're more interested to offline, because it's not going to apply to everyone else. Yep. But yeah, there are 2 questions, but I'll make sure to send them to you.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to click the OK button. It's important you click the A button. Again, get used to looking for the Save button up on the left or an OK button in the lower right. I never use the system, but it never really super intuitive to me that that's what was happening. So we've created a project training 1 with a phase training 1 with a task training 1. We've role training 1, and we've assigned 3 resources. We go to structure tab, and we see that we've got this it's funny, you guys said it earlier. I saw what was that? Create. Found something new. I've never encountered that drop down before. So we're at. I think the thing we want to know now is, so as a task, I know what my project is, I know what my phase is, I know what my task is, I know what the roles are. I'm going to find out who's been assigned to my work. This is an interesting thing. How come I'm not seeing? Well, here now, Shannon.
I'm pretty sure to go under resources. It's
Roles.
field.
No, it's under roles.
Sorry, another suggestion. Previous screen.
If you have task one, and then along the row of tabs at the end there's roles and qualifications.
But this one on the resources, not on.
There it
No,
is.
that one. Is that what you're looking for?
Oh, yes. I'm looking for tapping. What I'm looking for also is that I want to know, I've got task training selected there, and I go to resources. I'm going to find the resources that are associated with that role.
Yep.
Yeah, that way you do a search to assign someone.
Let's go back to this. Let's try something out here if you guys are willing to do that. Let's create another task under training, right? And it's assign some other people and see what happens. We'll call this one task training 2.
Or call it testing. Yeah, just give it a little variation. Testing 1, something like that.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Test 1.
There you go.
All right. 1. Going to save it. Got 10. I'm going to highlight testing 1. I'm going to resources. I'm going to include a role. I'm actually going to assign a role to task training 1. Right. This is the. I'm confused. Training 1 is phase. Test 1 is created at a phase level. Right. At a phase level. That's the problem. That's what went wrong there. Okay, so let me actually delete this. That makes sense. I had the wrong. Again, you've got to go up in here under training, and what it says as phase, it's highlight phase. I'm actually go in here and create task and the task name as request. Now we're in the right hierarchy level. Train 1. We're going to save that, and we have training 1. Now what we're going to do is we've got training 1, and we're going to go and there are if I can roll here, roll on. We don't have anything associated with that. We want to tasks. Goals. Hang on a second. It's getting away from me. Roll on. So we got a role. We want to assign resources to the role. I think I'm missing
It's supposed to somewhere, right?
Yeah. Details. I'm on the details. Make the harm thing. Okay, so task training. So training 1. And I want to read it. And I go to resources, and I want to look at roles, right? What happened to my?
Screen.
It is. Is it not? It's not just me. It is different, isn't it?
It's not that you have in your paper. And if you do roll, what do you get?
Well, staffing. Is it staffing? I gotta go through. No, there's people that are signed already.
Don't you have to assign the role to the task?
I thought, have I been able to do that? No. 1 to do was we've got created the role 1, but I want to associate that with training 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have thought if I went to resources, training 1. Full training 1. That was a task. This level. Role.
Right. So you have the training 1 highlighted, then go to resources.
Hmm?
Sorry, and then I think you click on the tasks tab.
Task training one. This is what we just created just now.
Uh-huh. Assign
You're
role.
right. And then I want to assign role. So actually, I selected down here training one. Why is it in here twice?
Yeah, section where it says there are assigned roles. So I don't know.
Let's go assign role. Assign that role. And save. Training one. It's really weird that it's got two of them in here.
Oh.
Well, training one? Did I really do that? Rick?
Yeah, I think you did.
1, 2. Is me. Okay, so we're back into resource. Training. Great. Okay, now it's making more sense. 2. I don't understand that.
I think that's the role twice with two
I
selected.
did.
So
Absolutely did.
roles.
We are starting to stretch the limits of my knowledge. A disclaimer at the beginning. Role training one. A role app and role training. I think just so we get everything. If I do that. So structure and task training. I want to see the role associated with that training. Negotiate that. I rated it, right?
I think there's only one role created. I think it's like what you did was renamed role training 1 to role training 3.
Yeah. Okay. I'm absolutely willing to believe.
What is there still a role? So task training 1?
Tagging 1. So then, in theory, should be now on role 3, right? No. Training 3. Crap. Was associated with 1 and associated with 2 twice. Oh, I think you're right, James. I think what I've been doing is I've been renaming the role. And these are assigned to that role. Yeah.
Do you have to be at the phase level to create a role?
I don't think so. I shouldn't have to be. You shouldn't have to be. You should have to be at the task level. Go back. So again, here we want to create a role. Where's my role? I've gotten really confused, guys, and we're still okay with a tremendous amount of confidence. Role. Here we go. Roles. And then here we have a create role someplace, if I remember right. Reasons. Task.
this is kind of where I got lost, and I got stuck on the question of, do we need to have one role for every person? I don't believe so.
Pretty puzzling right now is I can't get back to that place where I can create a new role.
What happens if
The
you go back to the story tab and select the train phase? Level? Red
Right,
level?
the phase level.
And go to resources tab. That's no.
Yeah, and so James, I mean, what I've been doing is the hierarchy I showed you all the way down is always been able to do.
Yeah. It says you have the task, and then you select the resource tab, and click on the create role button.
Right, the darn button can go.
Oh, wow. Yep.
So another question. Okay, it's not just me to do it.
Any holes? Be there.
Um,
No. You're right. Be there.
it should be there, right?
Yeah. With.
Hmm.
And then about resources details.
And the other thing was, so resources here, we should be able to do a resource search here. It's my belief. Close this and see what happens. Go to Mom. So we're back here in the beginning. What did we create today? So I just need to refresh this window. We did today. So here's what we did today. 1. Training 1, task training 2. Versus, oh, look at that. I'm going to, I was at the I have task training 1. Highlighted. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, you're on the staffing overview instead of details.
Staffing overview.
You go back to this tab. There's overview, resources overview, and details up on the taskbar.
See resource overview and detail. We're in. Oh. So, yeah, this. Boom. Copy role, create role. This is where we were earlier. All right? Because I click this and okay, we've got that highlight. We did this screen earlier. Get this earlier. Get the screen. We had the square and the names over here. We did create role thing happening again. Create a new role.
I think it's one of mysteries.
Yeah, if we were on the tasks tab too here. You saw that. I might be wrong.
Yeah, but now on the general. I'm on the general tab.
Right.
So I just created this one 5 so that it's really clear that it's a new one. Assigned to it. Staffed. Now I want to do, now I've got this role, is I'll assign it to task training 2. So go to resource, details, tasks, role training 45. I'm going to highlight task training 2. And I'm going to set. You want to go and associate with do some research or find some people to work on this. find resources by doing a generic search. Availability, 1 hour. And Charlie Brown. I'm a big fan of Charlie Brown. We'll have Charlie Brown and because we like Chaway. And what roles? Now those Chaway and Charlie Brown get to work on role 45. And we're gonna click OK. Bada boom. So now we go here with our task. We see what roles are associated now with this task. That's what I want to do, right? Here it is. Now we've got them again. How crap. This is a sandbox environment. But we know that this role is associated with task training 2, and this role is associated with task training 1, 2, training 2. Which is what we sort of thought when we had. James, that kind of makes sense? You were kind of following the logic there.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. So apparently be aware that there are aberrations in the system when you work on it. And don't come to the conclusion that it's all gone away, because what you expect to see is not what you're seeing. I suppose behavior, though. I'm going to be spending a bunch of time in the production environment the next day or two, and I'm hoping I don't see this behavior there.
Did someone in the end?
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't probably under the up to names, but they were all right.
Chaway and Charlie Brown here.
I see it. I see it to the right. The sunny screen. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Question, Colin?
Yeah, please.
Are the roles visible only at the level, or are they visible across projects?
Well, they're visible across projects.
So there's a copy role button. You can copy a role from it.
Prove that. Okay. So go up. We're going to go to the project level. I'm going to have to actually, I guess what I need to do is phase. I need to go back to I create a project. It's not going to allow me to do that here because I've got a project element in here. So maybe if I select here, can I do that now? Or that I have to close out. Let's do that. Projects. And right here's where we create a new project. So we're going to create a new project. We'll just that was 2. Okay. Create. So now we're in a different project. Nothing else is in there. I'm going to call this King 2. No phases. Again, see that's blank. The dot here is blank. I can't create a phase because I haven't associated the project type at this point. I'm going to create this project type now, phase populates, and I can now create a phase. Include. What I'm curious about is you'll find my other phases by text. Let's see if I find this as a wild card. I don't know if I know. Apparently it won't. My guess is that the phase is unique to the project. That's what we're seeing there. Create P2 and save it, and now see if we can tasks. Apparently not. Yeah, the thing associated here. What we have to do is we have to create a task, and I create task, and we call tagging 2. Now, I think what we can do is go to resources, staffing overview. Roles and staffing form. Asking about, right, James?
Yeah. Not sure if it's the right thing, but is there a way to get roles from another project?
Okay, found. I did a search. I did a wildcard search, and I found all this stuff. So,
Great.
where's one that we created earlier? So one's the one I created. I rated the number itself. These ones were generated by the system, right? So, what we were in before, it was project training 1, right? So let's start. That's it. And there are roles and the people. And my guess is that what we can do at that point, that we can then remove resources because you might not want them, right? And it seems to me.
So copies rolled and people assigned to it all at once.
Yeah, it took everything.
Oh, maybe not.
Sure,
But I'm not,
I mean that message, you can have it all one way or all the other, but you can't choose. Well, you can do. So you select and new one.
feed and remove Chow Wei and Cherry Brown from the role here. There we go. Just do one of them. So they deselect. Okay, I don't think it happened.
What delete staffing next to deselect?
Oh, thank you. One.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you. Cool. So now, so we're going to leave Charlie Brown in here. We're going to go find, because this is a different project, right? We're going to say Brown's going to work on both. Availability for an hour. Files. And Joy. Assign Joy staff role. Okay, now Joy is there. So there we go. We've got the structure. Now, it's going to be interesting for me to find out. So, this is like so many things, right? I am learning more again today. Every time I use this, I learn something. And that's the best way to learn how to use cProject is to win and use it. And again, I think there's going to be limited function for most, but for those that will have a need to get to know this more in a more familiar term, I'm going to suggest that you do need to work in that box and do what we've been doing now and play with it. All right, whether it's Shannon, you and I spent a lot of time in this thing. I had spent a lot of time with this. A professional guiding me. It's always something new. It's a journey, right? Whenever you get to the destination. So that's Project Train 2. So let's go and find out. I'm going to get out of this now. I'm going to save it just to make sure because I don't want to lose anything. I'm going to get it now. I'm going to go back to Project Training 1. I want to see if Chow Wei and Chow Brown are still working on that role. Right? Resource. Took them off this one, right? Off of 5. And Charlie Brown. Cool. We didn't remove the mess. We just copied over the tab. We took one individual and left the other one behind, and they stare. No, that's helpful to know, and that's the kind of stuff I think we're going to learn along the way. 20 minutes left. Let's take a look at the deck, and I'll send this to everybody. Or actually, I'll probably do is just post it and send you the hyperlink so you can get to it. And I better be sure and while I'm talking about it. And I'm gonna have a screenshot so that I know who has got this stuff. Make a link. So neural search, we went through these different tabs here. At some point, you'll to create, these were created when we had a whole bunch of stuff in there to select from. So we had different fields now we could choose from. We don't have those anymore. So many people have been removed from the system as we have to add and delete things. You can save searches. There's all kinds of stuff that you'll be able to do at some point. Again, that it doesn't matter what you put in each one of these tabs. Find source in any one of the tabs. Anything selected in those tabs. We did that. As you see, there's more people in there at that point. We staffed them, and that was it. So this is where we've come to this point. I hope that was helpful. I'm going to go in and we want to play some more in here for the next while. I'm happy to do that as well. You get what you want.
Quick question from that I wouldn't mind you refresh my memory. Do you recall if a project is a business unit or an entity, or there's ways to do that? Or
shame on you, Grace, for bringing that up. Is she still here? I think she's gone.
Yes,
Hi, Grace. That's the question I was hoping nobody would ask. Yeah. Is it that I kept on using my code phrase to Vanessa about those discussions we had in Connecticut?
Yeah.
Those discussions we had in Connecticut that were never resolved.
That's right.
And I have been, as you can imagine, relentless in my pursuit of an answer. And again, I came to the conclusion, Grace, that I had to make an executive decision to move forward. We're on the cusp of going live. I have to create roughly 800 things in here for search, and so I think that at some point, Grace, it's why I called it Microsoft Bing. Is at some point we're going to get that underlying number. We'll be able to associate that with our finance system, business unit, because ultimately that's what we need to be able to do. And maybe called it Search Microsoft Bing. I don't know. Things are a little complicated. I'm sure that ultimately we'll be able to change this stuff down the road.
Yeah, I'm thinking as long as New is not going to use it, not the project side. Knowing, and I think so. If we, it's like you're going to create one project, right?
Project, yes. Well, actually, no. We're going to have several. So right now, is running 3 programs, and we're negotiating with several others right now.
Yeah.
So
one per client.
We'll have per client program. So I've got Microsoft Bing, right? So they say that we're doing work with Microsoft, I don't know, Office
Yeah. Yeah.
Another project.
Yeah.
Well,
The risk,
please go ahead.
it will still have a reduced number of projects at this stage. James, not sure how many you will start creating, and I guess both your business unit and Daph's business unit, but we can easily fix it later.
That's what I am. Yeah.
I don't know about any project we are going to create. I think it's critical for reading purpose later.
Yeah, but later. So if with a restrained number of projects, then it's a bit later than if we start with hundreds. So you want to build something, later?
Again, in the absence of any further evidence, this is how I'm moving forward. And in discussions with Mark, it sounds like this is, I've said, because it's like trying to mitigate some risk here. Is don't I have cause for alarm at this point? Then I don't. I trust that they understands what can happen down the road. We've talked to Larry well enough on that. There is nothing that we're doing at this point that's not irreparable, or that we can't use at a future date. I think, Grace, this is the thing, right, is that how will this integrate with business unit and tracking, business unit finance and resource capital for that matter will become vital at some point. But I don't know when that's going to be. And doing that what I'm doing now, I think that Vanessa at this point, minimum the number of projects. Share something with you. I'll tell you what I've done. I think I'm not sure if I shared this with you guys yet. But I've been working on this thing for trying to get it figured out what I'm going to do in search. And Jen, if you're still here, this is kind of and search with kind of make sense and join Vanessa, you guys will follow this as well. Yeah, the project will, for the most part, always be Microsoft Bing. We've got a couple of things that are other clients, and like I said, we expect to add some clients as well. If I look at there's a handful of phases, right, and they're all related to specific work that we do in search. These all have specific individual purchase orders, right?
No, that's each phase.
These are so Jan worked for global marketization. He has her own phase. We're going to create a phase called global marketization.
Phase of PO in your case, right?
Correct. Yes.
Right. Colin, on that thinking, call the Microsoft, call the phase global marketization with any complications, because I'm thinking from a corporate financial view, we all work with Microsoft. We've got several projects here running for Microsoft. So wouldn't the company at some point want to Microsoft? I think it should never be the project name. Microsoft name attached to a project name. That's
really interesting. No, I struggled with that. I was thinking of Xbox.
Colin, I'm with you. Go at and then you're an Bing, and we were with Microsoft. But it'll never be Microsoft. Where do we get the metrics later on Microsoft projects? It was presented to us at the workshop, but we've never seen it later.
So that's a really interesting question. I haven't considered calling it Bing Relevance or Bing Ads. Sourcing, then if they're crowdsourcing, it's not necessarily that. It's not necessarily Bing crowdsourcing.
It's clear that the top should be Bing. It's Microsoft. It's all I know.
I'm going to leave it for Microsoft Bing for now. We can always change it down the road if we have to. It allows us to add in Microsoft Office as a product and have crowdsourcing working on that. Again, in the instance of any other guidance. This is, I just need to move this thing forward. So this is just me moving the ball. The tasks are all individual specific to, I was asking earlier, Jen, it has to be multimedia image and it has to be from the in the state curriculum in UHRS, it has to be that way. And roles are the same, but these are all unique. So they're by language and country for us, and a particular role, which is web search evaluator. But we've only got a few of them. We've got, hang on a second, for that. We have web search evaluators, we have crowd sanitators, and everything we do falls into those two buckets. And assign a ESAR web search evaluator to the multimedia if we add an ESAR multimedia program tab. If we have, we will assign the crowdsource to the individual to those places, those roles.
Okay. Okay, a quick question. I saw that the option to export product is then to import something into SE, like for instance, a legend that, I don't know.
The obvious question, and Mark and I had a long discussion about this because it's not. The answer is yes. The real answer is yes, but it's very costly. If we have work to do so. And we did that for HCM because of the level of complexity and the absolute correctness. And it relatively, I think, was relatively done there. Again, that spreadsheet I was just showing you, so that's only got right now is 1, 2, 3 uniques there. Within there are, a full of unique, so we're up to maybe 15 things. When we get to the tasks, there are 206 tasks and roles. Those all have to be created individually. Everything in the spreadsheet through D has to be individually created in project.
Okay.
It's wonderful to load this 370 data points, but I can't.
Okay. So just to confirm that my thought process here is correct. I'm just want to, I guess, make sure that I understood the purpose of using cProject. So in this case, we're going to load our roles for each market under the market role that judges win. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're actually working on something at that moment, right? It just says that they're assigned to that. That considering the nature of our program.
I don't know the answer to that. I know what you're talking about. I don't know, if assigned to that project, if that role, or in fact doing work in that role, I don't think that is a requirement from the system. So if you light it up and you have work for them to do, they're ready to go. And that's when they're doing that work, then when Venture Grace gets paid here, that's how they'll get paid. For things like the Web 5 program and for crowdsourcing, I guess for markets as well, you'll find that there will be people that you assign to a project, we call it today, which is basically in this system, right? Via role, because the roles are the task. You assign them the role, you give them the role, and they're associated with that task, what we call HRS project. Is people come and go all the time. We roughly 200 of these a week. Tech support team manages about 200 come and goings every week, and they've moved in and out of these roles. Why we're going to have admin do it. Because it's going to be pretty much a full-time job for us. And again, at some point, I'd like you to be able to go in here and go project here and say, I've got this task training too. What resources have I got assigned to it? you know, this effort comes from someplace else. We have available for this time. How are they actually working? Right? Are they giving me these hours or no?
Okay.
I want to be able to drill in and say, okay, you know, is this visual training free, right? And they're to get reports and stuff out of this. Can I find out how they're doing and what we need them to be doing?
That's what you're saying, is that at one point we're going to progress it to more project management structure. We're going to have all that information. Okay.
Absolutely. That is the thing that Vanessa and I are keen about. And the challenge is that by design, there is no functionality here today. And I am not a subject matter expert because real functionality is pretty limited, really intuitive. The point is that as we've seen, it doesn't always work as we would hope it would. On screens we expect. But otherwise, it's pretty intuitive. Shannon, you play with this fair amount. If you think, yeah, it's into Joy, I think you've been in here a bit too, and it's relatively intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
But I get in the coming months, what I hope for is that people who are looking at this have a curiosity and interest, looking at things and saying, oh, this could be useful, and start thinking about that. So better prepared to move into the next phase and average the strength of the system. And unbelievably powerful system.
A question for sourcing, I guess. So, who's uploading all of those roles and tasks to cProject? Did they already do that?
Funny thing about cProject,
Okay.
you know, you're probably the most experienced people with this application. I don't know, this might say they've done quite a bit too, I don't know. But in terms of the search organization, you and I are the most experienced. And you're to me, I have not much experience. None.
This is just moving people into buckets, really.
Yep. You're moving people into buckets.
Admin slated to do this for Corel?
Okay. Yeah, they'll be doing it for everything in the organization, and search organization. I'm training them tomorrow morning.
Okay. So
but the other thing that's no, and I haven't had an answer back from Mark. He answered, and I'm not online right now. The thing we discussed this morning, this is another conversation from last night. For those that would have been on the ERP core call, you know, the thing that I raised was I don't know how vital it is to have this done at launch. And I talked about that this morning. It's a must-have in order else to work smoothly. And I haven't got an answer back on that. That drive, the sense of urgency I have with getting this done. I know that I spoke to our Peter before I left yesterday, and she's been, you know, she's here now because she asked if she can continue working with Cheryl to get the descriptions into CM. And that should be a bigger priority.
Is your project needed for what you need, I guess? Is that what you're saying?
My understanding is that we wouldn't have a cProject if it wasn't needed.
Are those steps, which is putting the roles and tasks in buckets, in roles and tasks,
Yep.
and then what impact if we don't do it? Is that your question?
I mean, we're going to be tracking.
Yeah.
So we're going to be so long term. I think it has to be right because I don't want to be doing it in Excel anymore. But I think in the short term, I've already told the search organization, don't stop what you're doing. Right? You need to know where people are going and where they are. You can track most effectively in Excel. We'll continue to do that. So now, I have to have them because I can track it. I think you guys and James is probably a different answer. The volumes that we have.
What I understood it in talk to you is that really it's sort of your assignment, right?
Yep, exactly.
And if you track it elsewhere, then you're fine. If you're not, then you're not.
And I think that, for me, Vanessa, is my strategy is to get and create this stuff I can. I'd like to get it created and get it behind me so I don't have to think about it anymore, and make the admins to slowly migrate everybody in and start managing it in the system and get familiar with doing it. They're going to be doing it in Excel and in here. Again, once they get good at it, this won't be as we learn from over, it's actually pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it. They'll do this fairly easily on top of this. But at some point, they will stop doing it in Excel, and it will only happen here. But my understanding is that it's not a showstopper if we do that out of the gate, because I can still do it in Excel. But I know that for a fact because Recruit moves people from eRecruit into CM, because there's something dependency at point to get them out of HCM, or there's something go pieces in HCM. I don't know.
I don't know projects. You need projects if you want to assign people. Yeah. But I'm confident you can recruit with. Well, we're not going to use it for recruitment at all in Australia. Yeah. So we're using it for recruitment only. So we don't actually need cProject.
So you're not going to be pulling.
If you do a team selection and assign your project, you have to have the setup structure and project.
Correct.
Talking about the migration, Colin, aren't you migrating all the active people across? They'll need to hang them, or just
they're going to get put into HCM. So what David's going to do is we have all those rosters and spreadsheets. David's going to take all those rosters this week instead of watching Super Bowl, and he's going to import them. He's going to import them from, I guess, a specific spreadsheet, emails out of them, and then they import them into HCM. And we're going to capture their name and personal email address, and I think app and the email address, and that's all. That'll our baseline of consultants with whom we have a known relationship. Everybody in Toledo, we don't know what relationships we have with all those, that there'll be 90,000 people in Toledo.
So, Colin, question then related to that, just standing here. If I understood right, the roles in cProject are not related to HCM in a way. Like they don't inherit properties. Like if I have something defined as a linguist role on a particular project in cProject, that doesn't have anything to do with a linguist job description in HCM. Is that correct?
It's accurate. And so if we go and create a role here, you find there is a role type, right, and a role function. Those things, or if we talk about organizational units out of HCM, so in the call today, the big one is how do we get all the organizations created? We get job descriptions and org units created. Meaning is that this absolutely talks to HCM. If it's not in HCM, you can do it. I can create roles in cProject, but I have to be able to go, and we did a search for resources that we go, and you're going to be looking for organizational structure, especially looking for your org, right? Whether it's a linguist or search, and that will narrow your search. Those are people who are the attributes in HCM in the catalog, in the qualifications catalog that identifies them as linguists, excludes them from being contacted for source.
The organizational structure, the visible in the screen you're looking at, that's determined by the properties of the role, which come from that role, which comes from
That understanding. That's my
makes sense. So in terms of creating roles, we have all, like if there are job descriptions for the consultants that particular project, we need them in HCM before we go creating a role here.
I want to do that. Yeah, you'll create what's called a questionnaire, and the questionnaire includes a bunch of documents, including a job description, and then we have to create the job description. So the job description, I think that's the document that says here are the roles and responsibilities. Job description in HC is a different thing altogether. It is consultant, right? Link consultant. And as a Norwegian function, that description has to be created and has to be added to the linguistic organizational unit in order to find it in project. Whenever the recruit brings somebody over, they want to associate with something. We want a big general bucket. We don't want people in a big old bucket. We need to know what they're. Otherwise, we're going to annoy people. And I don't know if I don't know if that's really a satisfactory answer.
That makes sense. That's exactly the question I was asking. In terms of thinking in terms of data structure of what these databases want to know the role associated with something particular in them, and it sounds like the answers, and that's cool.
And so I think that the person just joined the left one of admin. She's going to be tomorrow morning. There's somebody else that's supposed to be using this WebEx. Could be we might get dumped off. I think the thing to keep in mind here, and the thing I keep coming back to, is that we don't get this perfect at the end of next week. Nobody's going to die. And we're a volunteer organization. Effectively, they're going to pull this thing together. And as such, we contributed, and we've continued to contribute and to learn and to be able to support the organization as best we can within the constraints of our availability. And when we have questions, well, hopefully those answered in a timely fashion. But if not, again, it's going to die. Ultimately, these kinds of implementations are extensive and take a long time, and we shouldn't be disappointed if we don't get it all solved immediately. Eventually, and you're asking, James, need to be answered so that it becomes second nature for you. Someday, somebody will ask me that question, and I'll be able to give you an answer with all the details without hesitating today.
Sorry to interrupt. I was conscious that we have with Amanda.
Yep.
We'll need the WebEx.
And we need to go, and that's why, just like you're joining, and that's why. So I'm going to stop the recorder, and I'm going to stop sharing, and sign out now. Guys, thank you so much. If you reach out to me privately, we'll figure out something and get it together. All right.
Big thank you to you for organizing the document.
That's appreciated. See you guys.